Hey there, this is Ross Izzard, and this is the Backcountry Fly Fishing Podcast, where we talk about fly fishing in more interesting places in the winter. Last week was the intro episode to Season 2, which is all about cold weather, winter fly fishing. We talked about the challenges, the stuff that's going to be hard for you out there, the problems that you are going to have to solve, and the issues that you're going to have to get around if you want to do this winter fly fishing thing, particularly in anything that looks like the backcountry. The very first thing, I think, before we can get to almost anything else, is having the right equipment from a warmth perspective. So really that comes down to what you wear out there. If you don't get that right, if you're not wearing the right stuff, you can kind of get away with being a little sloppy in the summer and the fall, maybe even in the late spring. But man, in the winter months and those colder months with those colder temperatures, you mess around with that, you are likely to have a pretty bad time. You got to get this right. So we're going to do this right up front. This is the What I Wear Winter Edition. We did the fall and summer edition. This is the winter edition. And we're going to do it exactly the same way, guys. We're going to run from the top, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, all the way down what I wear when I am out there fishing in the winter. And this could be true whether I'm fishing in some sunless canyon that I had to hike into in the snow and the ice, or whether I'm just fishing in a cold section of stream that's, 20 yards from where I parked my truck. Doesn't change an awful lot in the winter. It's going to be cold almost everywhere you go most of the time, and it's your job to be prepared for it. Remember, there is no bad weather, only bad gear, so don't wear bad gear. So let's go ahead and just jump in, and we're going to start with the head. So I'm bald. I don't have any hair. I think those of you who have been listening for a while know that. I just have like straight up skin, like it's bicked all the way down to the skin with a razor, because I'm so bald that I look terrible if I don't shave my head entirely. So I have no insulation at all on my head, and that means I have to take really good care of it when I'm out in the cold. I wear a knitted wool cap, a beanie, every day when I'm out in the winter. I actually have my favorite one. It's forest green. It's super comfortable. It is stretchy enough that it fits over my head, and it is 100% wool. You're going to hear this a lot over this episode. You need to be wearing stuff that is made 100% of wool. You don't want to be wearing cotton of any kind ever. Stay away from cotton. That includes for hats and underlayers and everything else. Don't wear cotton. It's bad. It retains moisture. It does not retain any heat when it's wet. It is not a good thing to wear in the wintertime at all. You should avoid it like the plague. You do want to wear wool. And if you need to wear wool with a synthetic blend of like polyester or something else in it to keep costs down, okay, you can make it work. But understand that wearing full wool is pretty undeniably the best option for all of this stuff. And you're going to hear that a lot. And that's true with your head, just as it's true for other parts of your body. So I start with a wool knitted cap. It is full wool. It has a folding brim, which means the edges of the wool fold up. So you have that kind of, collar or rim around the bottom of the hat, which I find very helpful because I can pull that down and adjust sort of the width of that brim to cover more or less of my ears. Provides a little bit of an extra layer of insulation on my ears when it starts getting real cold and real windy. And I just think it's more comfortable. I think the ones that don't have that, the kind of one size fits all skull caps, they work, but I don't think they work as well as the ones that are kind of stretchy and that have that folding brim because you just have a little bit more leeway with them. Sometimes I wear that straight on my head. Sometimes I wear it over a baseball cap. So I still wear baseball caps in the winter. It's especially useful for keeping sun out of your eyes, obviously, same as it is in the summer and the fall. But it is also incredibly useful for keeping snow off of your glasses, right? So you're going to be wearing sunglasses. I should mention that. Probably the same sunglasses that you wore in the summer and the fall are fine. In Colorado, it's amber colored. Other places, it may be a different lens color. In all cases, it is going to be polarized. You got to have polarized glasses because it helps take the glare off the water and lets you see better. And when you can see better, you can wade better, which in the winter is really important because if you fall in that cold water and get wet, your day's over. You're either in really big trouble if you're way out there, and that can turn into a life-threatening situation pretty quickly, or your day's just over and you got to pack up and go home. Because once you get wet, when it's 20 degrees outside or 10 degrees outside, you're done. You're cooked. That's the end of your day. So you don't want to fall in. That means you need to be able to see where you're wading. It also helps you see fish, right? So most of the winter is about feeding fish. You're going to see a lot of fish who are not feeding. You got to find the ones who are feeding, and that necessitates being able to see them in a lot of cases. You're going to be pretty selective in walking the bank. So those glasses are going to help, but they are not going to help if they get wet. There is nothing more annoying than having a bunch of moisture on the outside of your glasses from snow or from rain or from anything else. And if you are out there fishing in the snow and you do not have a baseball cap or something with a sort of rigid brim on it to protect your glasses, they're going to get snowflakes on them. They just are. And you're going to wind up with little snowflakes or droplets of water all over your glasses. When it's cold, that gets really hard to clean off, even if you're carrying a hand towel. It can start to freeze. It messes up your vision. It just is not a lot of fun. So a baseball cap will help cut down on that. Just like I said last season, you can put the cap on, the baseball cap, and then you can put your wool cap on right over the top of the baseball cap. And number one, you look like a super cool fisher bro. But number two, you get the benefits of both without having to buy some like crazy specialized beanie that has a visor built into it or a bill built into it. You can just have your baseball cap and then your knitted cap. And you just put them both on and you're ready to rock. You're ready to go fishing. And that about covers it for my head. I might have a hood up, right? We're going to talk about what I wear on my body, and most of those items do have hoods. I very often put those hoods up either to retain more warmth or to keep moisture off of me or whatever it might be. But as far as items just for my head, it's pretty much wool beanie with a folding brim, regular old baseball cap, and a pair of sunglasses that are hanging around my neck on a croaky. Why do you want them around your neck on a croaky? Well, because if you don't, you're probably going to be taking them on and off, especially in the winter because they're going to get wet and foggy and stuff. And you might drop them in the river. And that sucks because number one, you might lose them. Number two, you just don't want to put your hands in there, guys. I mean, this water is cold. And the less you can put your skin, and particularly your fingers, in contact with that cold water, the better off you're going to be. So if you drop your glasses or anything else, you really don't want to have to pick it up. So winter is not a good time for the dropsies. Everything needs to be attached to you. That includes your sunglasses. So put them on a pair of croakies. And I know you don't look super cool with croakies, but I don't care, man. You're fishing. Functionality before form when it comes to fly fishing. Put those on there. So that's pretty much it for the head. I will say this. Some people are going to come at me and say, well, you should be wearing a neck gaiter. And those are those little kind of like spongy things that you put around your neck and you can pull it up over your face to protect you from the wind and everything else, or a scarf or something like that. I don't wear those. I really don't. I have tried to wear them. I have tried to like them because it's tough when you get like water in your beard or snot in your beard and you got cold wind blowing on your face. I mean, I see the appeal of them. I really do. But I believe that they just fog up your glasses. I'm sure there is a version of them that have like special venting on them to let your breath out more easily. I find that having anything over my mouth basically leads to every breath I take blowing a bunch of hot air and condensation upward into the inside of my sunglasses. That leads to fogging, it leads to condensation, and it seriously decreases my ability to see, to the point that sometimes I have to take off my glasses because I can't see anything. They have to come off. That obviously deprives me of the ability to use the sunglasses for what they're made for. It exposes my eyes to sunlight and damage down that front, makes it harder for me to see, harder to wade. And it's also just annoying because once they get wet like that, they're not going to really dry in an environment like that. They're going to freeze or they're going to stay condensated for a long time or fogged up for a long time. And they just don't get better. So the less you can fog up the glasses, the better off you're going to be. And I have found that those gaiters and scarves and almost anything else, they just fog your glasses. So, there may be times where you need something like that or like a hood. They can kind of fold around your face, or a jacket you can zip up over your face. I get it. There might be times where it is cold enough that you need that. But if I can avoid it, I really, really do. Because it leads to more problems than it solves, in my humble opinion. So you do you on that front. But as far as my head goes, beanie, baseball cap, sunglasses, that's it. Let's talk about shoulders, which in this case basically just means body. So this one kind of depends on temperatures, right? So on the coldest days, let's say, I think I mentioned on the intro podcast for this season, I have fished days all the way down to like -10. I got out there at like 8 in the morning, which probably isn't a great idea, by the way. You really don't need to rush to get out to the river on a lot of these days. You can get there at 9, or sometimes even later than that when the temperatures start coming up, and have a better time and really not miss a lot, to be honest, especially in canyons where the sun has to make its way up over those ridges and up over those canyon walls before things start warming up. It's okay to be a little bit later to the river in the winter. That's one of the upsides. But I was in there, it was -10, and it was just, I could not wear enough clothes, right? And on days like that, when it is really the coldest possible conditions that a human being could stand and still be able to fish, on those days, I'm wearing a lot of layers. I'm wearing layers any day because it's the wintertime and layering is the key to success. But on these days, I am really, really layering up. So let's start with the outermost layer. If it is a really, really cold day, I am wearing a heavy jacket. It's not like a ski jacket, right? I don't want to wear that necessarily, but it is sort of a heavy abrasion-resistant jacket. The jacket that I have is from Kuhl, Kuhl, and it is called, I think, the Law. I know that's a crazy name. Fleece-lined hoodie, which makes it sound like it's a hoodie. It's actually a really heavy winter jacket. The exterior of it is made of pretty thick, tough canvas. It's also water repellent. It's not waterproof. So this is not something that I wear if it's raining or dumping snow on me. But if it's just a little wet or it's just cold, this is what I put on: a heavy canvas exterior. It is lined with fleece on the inside, and fleece does an incredible job. Fleece and pile really both do an incredible job of keeping you insulated and keeping your body heat inside with you where you want it. And then it's got a big hood, and you're going to want a hood because there's going to be times where you need to pull that up over your head for extra protection from the wind or from the snow or from the cold just generally. But you're going to want something big and heavy to keep you warm on those really, really cold days. And that's what I wear. Underneath that, I usually have on a lighter, thinner jacket. So like a fleece jacket of some kind, or a tech hoodie, which is kind of like a light jacket. It's usually fleece lined. The one that I use most often, again, is from Kuhl. If you can't tell, I really like their stuff. But it is called the One hoodie, and it's a nice, thin, sort of zip-up hoodie, also fleece-lined, surprisingly warm, and pretty good at breathing. It's pretty breathable. So I actually wear that even when I'm hiking around in the fall, or in the spring when it's a little bit cool. It's good at breathing. Even if you start getting warm, it can kind of keep some of that heat off you, but it still does a pretty good job of retaining enough heat that you are able to stay warm. So that's my next layer underneath there. After that, I'm wearing just some type of athletic shirt. This might be like a knitted fishing sun shirt. So I don't wear like the real thin sun shirts. Obviously, they don't do a lot for you in the wintertime, and it's not likely that you're going to strip down to them. But I will wear like a long sleeve Under Armour shirt or something that is designed as a athletic wear, breathable, moisture wicking layer, just as sort of my almost base layer. There's actually one more layer underneath this, but I will wear that as kind of my main shirt underneath that tech hoodie. And then underneath that, this is the most important one, I believe, is a base layer of a long sleeve 100% merino wool shirt. This is the most important thing that you have on your torso. It is the closest thing to your skin. It's actually the only thing that is touching your skin. And wool is an incredible material. I talk a lot about it. Other people do too. It is warm. So if you want to be warm, you're not going to do better than wool. It does an incredible job of insulating you from the cold and keeping your body temperature stable and keeping your heat in. But it also is really good at getting rid of moisture. So when you have excess moisture, wool is pretty good at breathing and getting rid of that stuff. So it's not just sitting on your skin like you're wearing a trash bag, which, as you all know, when you sweat, when you work too hard, you get hot, whatever, you sweat, that sweat starts to evaporate. And if you don't have a way to move it away from your body, it kind of just sits on you. And then you're wet, and then you get cold. Very ironically, as I've said often, getting too hot is probably the fastest way to get too cold. And a lot of that has to do with the properties of where the moisture lives on your body and whether or not the clothes you are wearing are able to wick it away and move it away from your skin. Wool can do that. And if it does get wet, so let's say that you take a fall, worst case scenario, or maybe you walk underneath a tree branch. This has happened to me many times, and you knock some snow and it falls down the back of your neck, right? Or down your chest or something like that. Oh man, now I got some snow down inside my clothes. That wool will still keep you pretty warm even when it's wet. Now, look, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not 100%, right? No material that gets really wet is going to keep you completely as warm as it would if it were dry. That's just not how life works, right? That's not reality. But wool's pretty good. And even if you get a little bit wet, it's going to do a good job of still keeping you warm. And that means that stuff goes from being really unpleasant to the point that it might cut your day short to being manageable. And you can still be warm and be out there. So that's kind of my mainline setup for a really cold day. So just one more time from the bottom to the top this time. I have a long sleeve merino wool base layer up against my skin. I have some type of thin athletic shirt over that, Under Armour, fishing shirt, whatever you want to wear. I have a tech hoodie or a fleece jacket over that. And then I have my big heavy coat, which again needs to have some type of water resistant property to it, because the likelihood of you getting wet from maybe it is snowing, maybe like I said, it's snow falling off of a tree branch, you're going to get splashed as you're waiting, like you're in the water, there's going to be some water on you. This jacket probably isn't going to be fully waterproof unless you want to wear a full-blown ski jacket, and that's okay if you do. I think you could probably make it work. But it needs to be water resistant enough that it can handle some splash and some snow and a few other things without getting soaked. One word of caution about your jacket. You really want to avoid down, right? I said earlier you want to avoid cotton anywhere near your skin. This outer jacket may have some cotton on it. Try not to fall in, but as long as it's got that kind of tough exterior layer, especially canvas or something else, you'll be okay. But you really don't want down. And the reason for that, as anybody who has done camping with a down sleeping bag that got wet knows, is that once down gets wet, you're screwed. That stuff does not dry out. It takes forever. And it has almost zero insulating properties once it gets wet. So that real big, nice, down, puffy jacket thing that you wear, your parka, it'll be fine until it gets really wet. And once the down gets wet, then you're screwed. You might as well take the thing off because it's actually doing more harm than good. It's better off to just not wear the jacket at that point. So try to avoid down at all costs. Try to find other insulated properties. Fleece is great. Check the materials on the exterior of the jacket and the interior of the jacket. Check the linings. You can wear whatever you want. You'll find a system that works for you, but do try to steer clear of down, because sooner or later you're going to get wet enough that you're going to wish that you weren't wearing that. And that is worth thinking about anytime you're sloshing around in a cold winter river. Now, on days that are a little less cold, let's do the same thing. So body, but now it's like it's more of a mild winter day. Let's say it's in the 40s, right? Maybe even the 50s. On those days, I get a little more creative with my layering. I am not going to wear my big heavy coat because I'm almost certainly going to get hot. And the downside of a big heavy coat is if you don't know whether or not it's going to be cold all day long, so you're going to have the coat on all day long. If you have to take that off, if you have to strip a layer because you get hot, you have nowhere to put it, right? Chances are you're not carrying a backpack that's big enough to accommodate a big, bulky winter coat. They're just not very portable. They don't fold up great. You could try to tie it onto your backpack, but they're usually kind of thick and the sleeves are kind of thick and they're just not good candidates for that. And so you really don't want to have that with you unless you need it. And for that reason, when it is not as cold, usually I am wearing some type of outer shell layer. So this is probably a Gore-Tex rain jacket of some kind. The one that I have is from Cabela's. I don't remember the exact name of the model, but it's from Guidewire, which is their kind of internal brand. And it's been wonderful. It's a fairly thick lined rain jacket that is made of Gore-Tex so that it can breathe nicely. It's got some insulating properties to it. It's not super warm. I wouldn't wear it by itself. But as an outer shell, it's great to keep the wind off you, rain and snow and splashes from the river off of you. And then it's got these really cool, tight, sort of rubberized cuffs inside the sleeves that are designed for when you stick your hand in the water to grab unstick your flies or deal with the fish or whatever. Quick caveat. If you don't have to stick your hands in the water, you shouldn't stick your hands in the water in the wintertime, because as soon as they get wet, you're going to have a bad time. So if you can avoid this, do. But if you do stick your hands in the water, because you have to, you've got to deal with the hook that you just can't get out. You're stuck on something, you slip and you stick your hand in the water. Those cuffs keep the water from going up into your sleeve. So they kind of keep the inside of the jacket warm and dry, even if your hand gets wet and your wrist gets wet, it keeps all that moisture outside. And they're a really nice feature. Only downside is if you wear a watch, it's really tough to put these things on or off over anything on your wrist, bracelets, watches, or anything else, because the cuffs are so tight. So just, you may have to take off your Garmin or Fitbit or regular watch. Maybe you fish in a Rolex. I don't know what you do. You might have to take that off to take the jacket on or off. So just be aware of that little annoyance. But otherwise, this is a good outer layer and you should look into it. It's got a big hood. It can close around your face if you needed to. As I said earlier, I don't do that very often because I find that the condensation and the sort of nasty steam that comes out of my breath, it's just kind of gross and unpleasant on my face and can fog up my glasses. But it does have it in case I need it. And then underneath that is where I start getting a little bit more creative. So very often I have on a fleece jacket or a lighter jacket underneath that. And then underneath that fleece jacket, I have on a tech hoodie or something else with breathable properties that, again, is usually lined in fleece, so that I've got those 3 sort of jacket layers underneath this thing. I have the rain jacket, or the shell jacket, I should say. I have a fleece jacket that is a little bit heavier. Then I have my pretty thin insulating layer of a hoodie or a tech hoodie. And then I have the same stuff that I had on those heavier, colder winter days, where I have my Under Armour shirt on or some type of athletic shirt, and underneath it, same thing, merino wool long sleeve shirt up against my skin. Same reasons, same logic, same basic premise behind making sure that you're wearing those layers at the very bottom. Those don't change very much, so what you're going to find is your inner layers pretty much are stable all the way through the winter, to the point that you can buy a couple pairs of, wool base layers, so pants and shirt, and then you can just kind of mix and match your outer layers however you need to during the winter. But those inner layers are pretty much going to stay the same. You're going to be wearing your winter uniform underneath all your outer gear pretty much from November all the way until things start getting warmer in March. So get comfortable in it. Make sure you like this stuff. So buy it, try it on. If you don't like it, don't use it. Seriously, you're going to be wearing it a lot and it needs to be comfortable. Try it on. Find the stuff that you like, find the brands that you like, and then layer up. That is how you do it on your chest. All right, let's talk about knees and or legs. So this is a game primarily of waders. We are going to do a whole episode about keeping your hands and your feet warm this season, so I'm not going to get super duper deep into that topic today. But we are going to talk about sort of waders in general and the waders that you need to wear. And this is your outermost layer, right? These are the things that are going to keep you dry when you are wading in the river or when you're kneeling in the snow or whatever you happen to be doing. No matter what kind of wader you get, you need them to be chest high waders, right? Winter is not the time to have sort of hip waders or waist high waders or wading pants. None of those things are going to work very well for you in the winter, in part because at some point the water is likely to get up higher than that, and then you're going to be screwed because you're going to have a wet torso and your day's over. And also in part because that extra chest piece of the wader that comes all the way up, almost, to your mid-chest, that is an extra insulating layer for you. That keeps all of that juicy body heat from your core and your internal organs and your heart contained inside the waders and inside those layers that you have on, and it is going to help keep you warmer. So you're going to want chest-high waders. They also will protect you better from splashes and random sprays of water or snow falling off of something or whatever might happen. Maybe you fall. These do a better job of keeping the snow off of you and out of your clothes. You're going to want to have chest-high waders. And then you've got a couple of options. Waders sort of diverge. I don't know if you've ever shopped for waders. There are a lot of them out there, but there are a few different styles and options that you can think about. The first one is not cool anymore, but I fished in them for a lot of years, and they are your standard old school neoprene waders. Neoprene is that heavy sort of rubberized substance. It does not breathe at all, right? So these things are specifically designed not to breathe. So you are going to get sweaty under there. I'm going to warn you about that. However, if you get thick enough neoprene, so we're talking 3 millimeters plus, I've actually worn them all the way up to 5 millimeters, where you have 5 millimeters of neoprene on you all the way up to your chest. You are not going to get cold in them. I promise. These things are as warm as they can possibly get. A lot of them are not made for fishing. They're actually made for, duck hunting or hunting in general in the colder months. but they are incredibly warm. They are 100% waterproof. They're heavy, so if you're hiking, I've done a lot of hiking in neoprene waders, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not the most fun you've ever had to hike in these things. But if you're really fishing in frigid environments and you just absolutely 100% want to be warm, neoprene is your best friend. You'll look like a dork. Yes, I know technology has moved on, but neoprene is popular for a reason. Still works today. So that's one of your options. Your second option is getting breathable waders. So these are waders that are not made out of neoprene. They're made out of much thinner, breathable material. They are designed to allow at least some of the moisture from your body to escape, to breathe back out into the air and into the water around you without letting all that cold air and cold water in with you. They are an awful lot more comfortable. They do a better job of keeping you from getting too hot and getting sweaty. And they're just generally nicer. However, they come with the downside, which is that they offer no natural insulation for your legs. And your legs are pretty important. So your quads and your glutes and your hamstrings and all that stuff, they're pretty big muscles. There's a lot of blood running through your legs. And if your legs are getting cold because you're standing, mid-thigh or even up to your hips in water that's, 35 or 38, you're going to start getting pretty cold. It's going to start to chill you, and that chill is going to work its way up into your core. It's going to work its way down into your feet. It will, believe it or not, work its way into your hands. And it's going to start lowering your body temperature, which is really not what you want out there. So if you're wearing neoprene, you can get away with putting on just like a pair of gym spats, like tights, throwing on your neoprene waders and pretty much being okay for the day. If you're going to wear breathable waders, you need to be more thoughtful about which layers you wear underneath it. So we're going to focus on those more breathable kinds and the layering that I do underneath them. I have used neoprene for a long time. I'm still kind of a believer in neoprene. I have more recently upgraded to more serious winter fly fishing waders. I have the Orvis Pro front zip winter waders with the boot foot. We'll talk about that in a minute. But same thing, they don't have any insulation on the legs. So when I wear those things, I got to layer up, same way as I do on my top half. So starting from the bottom layer on this one, and you're going to be able to guess it. You're feeling it. We could play the Jeopardy song. It's wool. You should be wearing wool as your bottom layer against your legs. Long wool pants, merino wool pants, 100% wool if you can get it. I know they're expensive, but man, it's going to be worth it to you, and that's what you want. That is what you want up against your skin, is straight up merino wool, goes all the way down to your ankles. Not too tight. They can be tight a little bit because you want them to fit under the waders. And I should mention that, by the way, whatever kind of waders you wear, you're going to want to make sure that you probably upsize them a little bit. Your winter waders should be bigger than your regular waders for other seasons, because you have to wear all of these additional layers underneath them. So you're going to have, your layered leggings and your layered sort of leg gear. And then you're going to have all that layered chest gear up top. And I should have mentioned that in the last section. In almost all cases in the wintertime, you are going to want all of those jackets, including your outer jacket, inside your waders, wherever you can manage that. You can put them outside. Understand they're going to get a little bit wet because the waders aren't protecting them at that point. But just for the sake of convenience and the sake of staying dry and the sake of keeping as much body heat as you can, you want the waders to be the outermost layer, and you want everything else inside the waders. And that means your waders need to be bigger than you might think. So like if you wear a medium-sized wader, you might need a large for your winter waders, because you got to be able to fit all that stuff underneath there. You still got to be able to move. You don't want to be waddling around like the Michelin Man or the Penguin. You need to be comfortable, and that probably means that you need bigger waders. So sorry for the aside, but just as a flag, do keep that in mind. Sizing matters. You have the wool at the base layer. Next layer up is some type of wading pant. I was for a lot of years not convinced about these, and I've tried everything. I've worn like hiking pants underneath my waders. I've worn sweatpants underneath my waders. I've worn various forms of athletic pants and joggers underneath my waders. I really do think buying a pair of fleece-lined, insulated wading pants is worth doing. There are a whole bunch of these on the market. A bunch of different companies make them. The ones that I use are the Patagonia R2 Tech Face pants. These are a fairly recent addition to my arsenal. But man, they are so comfortable and so warm. And they have all these features that are built into them that make them perfect for fishing because they were designed for fishing. They have pile lining inside, so kind of fleecy lining that does a great job of keeping your legs insulated. They have sort of a more shell-like outer material that is itself pretty water resistant but still breathable and does a really good job of just keeping some of that ambient cold from the water pushing in around your wader material off of your legs and redirecting that and warming it up before it ever touches your skin. And they're just comfy. They're not restrictive. They have a zipper. They have a fly so that you can pee, especially if you have zip front waders. And by the way, if you can get zip front waders, I know they're expensive, but you're going to be really glad you did in general, but especially in the winter so that you don't have to take off all of your stuff and pull down your waders in the cold so that you can pee in the dead of winter. Having a zip front so you can just unzip them, pull your jackets up, unzip your pants, pull out your you-know-what, do your thing and put it away. If you're a guy, you're going to be a happier camper for that. If you're a female, well, unfortunately, biology or God or whoever did not see fit to bless you with the parts needed to make use of the zip front waders. So you're going to have to kind of strip off and do your thing. And I'm sorry about that. I wish I could fix it, but I can't. But if you're a guy, those zip front waders are going to change your life. And these Patagonia pants have a zipper so you can use that. And you just, you do your thing. And that's it. That's all I really wear on my legs. I don't wear a ton down there because the more you wear on your legs, you're walking, you're climbing, you're stepping up on the rocks, you're scrambling over logs and tree branches and whatever else. You might be hiking a little bit, and you don't want a lot of restriction on your legs. The more layers you add, the harder it gets for your hips to work, harder it gets for you to get sort of full mobility in your legs when you're stepping up or stepping down. It can get kind of annoying, and it can get kind of dangerous, to be honest with you. If you don't have full mobility, the chances of you falling become significantly higher, and falling in the wintertime, not a good thing to do. Not a good time really ever, but the winter is definitely not the right time to do it. So you don't want to go too crazy in there. I just have those 2 layers underneath my waders, and that's usually fine. I have found that if you can keep your core nice and warm, your body nice and warm, that is really going to help circulate warmth around the rest of your body, keep your blood warm, and help keep your body temperature up, even in your extremities. So focus on that, and don't go too crazy on your layers inside, but wool at the bottom, some type of fleece-lined pants, preferably dedicated wading pants, and then your waders. That's what your legs look like. All right, let's talk about feet. I am not going to spend a lot of time on feet because we are going to do a full episode about keeping your feet warm and why you want your feet warm. But really, for today, it's a question of waders. Same thing, right? What kind of waders do you want to wear? Now, you have 2 options. You can either wear your standard sort of stocking foot waders where you have those little thin neoprene booties and you stick those down in your wading boots and you hop in the river. I've tried that. I see guys do that on a regular basis, but as I have said here before, I don't know how they do that. I think I'm a pretty rugged dude. I absolutely cannot fish in the wintertime with stocking foot waders. I just can't do it. My feet will be frozen in any water temperatures below about 45. They are frozen and done within an hour of me being out there. By 2 hours, I'm in so much pain I can barely walk. And then I just have to leave, and it sucks. It's miserable. I don't get to fish. I really have come to believe that you need a standard set of waders with those stocking feet for sort of the warmer months and the shoulder seasons when you're not wet wading. Then you need a dedicated pair of winter waders for winter fishing. And the primary difference between those 2 things is that the winter waders, I think, should have boot feet on them. So these are waders that have built-in vulcanized rubber boots that are actually attached to the wader. It's one single tube from the leg all the way down to the boot. The Orvis Pros have like grid fleece lining inside of them. Some others have thinsulate around them. There's a whole bunch of different options here, but some type of insulation in that rubber boot that keeps the cold out, and then all that heat from your core and your legs and everything else just stays in the wader. It can circulate directly down into your boot and around your foot to keep you warm. If you don't have that and you're wearing a stocking foot wader, those stocking feet are fairly tight. You're not getting a lot of circulation of body heat from your legs and from your core that way. Your feet kind of have to keep themselves warm. I really strongly believe after many, many, many days of fishing in cold temperatures and cold water You are not going to be able to achieve comfort that way. You just aren't. You might be able to achieve something tolerable where you don't have to go home. Maybe there's a trick, but I don't think you're going to be comfortable. If you want to be the last guy on the river, if you want to be able to go out there and really withstand those kind of temperatures and sustain yourself so that you can keep fishing, you want boot foot waders. I know they're awkward. I know they're not super fun to hike in. You can hike in them. They're not super fun, but you can, and I do often. But you're just going to be so much more comfortable. It is worth you having those. And that is the number one thing to keep in mind with your feet. Inside those boot foot waders, if you do the stocking foot waders, by the way, I don't know if I can help you. I have read various articles that say you can wear wool socks, and inside of that, some type of specialty water wicking sock. Some people say wear 2 socks, whatever. I have never been able to figure out that system. But inside your boot foot wader, which is what I know and what I very strongly believe in, I just wear only one pair of 100% wool socks. That's it. I don't wear any under socks. I don't wear 2 pairs of socks. You actually really don't want to wear too many layers in there, because the more layers you wear, the more airspace you take up. The more airspace you take up, the less warm air can circulate around your foot. And ironically, the colder your foot will get. I learned this with stocking foot waders, where I would put them on. I tried like 2 socks or 3 socks or 4 socks. It didn't work. The more socks you wear, the less room there is for warmth to get around your foot. And also it starts to constrict the blood flow in your foot, which if you've ever you slept on your arm funny or something and you didn't have proper circulation there and it starts getting kind of cold, that's why, because it's not getting a lot of blood flow. You do that to your feet, you're going to have a bad time. So you just want your boot foot waders and 1 pair of socks inside of that. That's it for your feet. That's all I wear. So I think that covers us. That's what I wear when I'm out there winter fishing. You can play with your own gear, your own combo. Everybody has their sort of intensely personal way of layering, and the way they like to do stuff, the brands they like, the things they like to wear. That's cool. You guys do you. You do not have to dress exactly like me. There's probably somebody out there who has something to say about how I'm doing it wrong. Cool. I'm always happy to learn, right? The winter fishing in particular is a constant learning process. But after many, many days in very, very cold conditions, this is the setup that I have found that keeps me warm, keeps me dry, keeps me happy enough to stay out there and fish, so that the limiting factor on my fishing is my desire to fish or my schedule, and not my ability to withstand the air temperatures or the water temperatures or the elements. This is the system that I've come up with, and it's served me pretty damn well. So I hope it'll serve you well too. Hope this was helpful to you. I don't know if you were fishing out there this week. I would like to be. I'm planning to go here in a couple days, but we've got another snowstorm forecast, so I may just be out there fishing in a blizzard because I need to get out. But for those of you who are already out hitting the stream, I hope you've got the gear you need. If you don't, it's time to go shopping. You can always lie to your wife about it later. But it's time to start getting ready and get prepped, because as soon as you have this stuff ready to go, you're ready to go fishing, and that's a beautiful thing. So stay safe, guys. Have a great week. Look forward to seeing you back here real soon. Till next time, this is Ross. Maybe I'll see you out there, but hopefully not.